Life is full of joy, laughter and love, but it also holds pain, sorrow and loss. This reality often leads to a question as old as time itself. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's a question that echoes in the silence of grief, whispers in the heart of despair, and begs for an answer amidst life's storms. We see goodness all around us, people who dedicate their lives to helping others, who radiate kindness and compassion. Yet they too experience illness, heartbreak and tragedy. The world feels unfair, leaving us searching for meaning in the midst of suffering. We long for reasons, for explanations, for something to cling to when life feels overwhelming. The truth is, there are no easy answers. No simple explanations can fully encompass the complexities of human experience and the mysteries of God's plan. Yet, within the struggle, there is hope. Within the pain, there is purpose. And within the darkness, there is a light that shines brighter than we could ever imagine. This light doesn't erase the pain or diminish the loss, but it does offer a new perspective, a way to navigate the darkness and find meaning in the midst of suffering. Often, our understanding of bad is limited to our immediate circumstances. We see pain, loss and difficulty as inherently negative, failing to recognize the potential for growth and transformation that lies within them. Just as a sculptor chisels away at stone to reveal a masterpiece, so too does life shape us through both joy and sorrow. Imagine a seed buried deep within the earth. From the seed's perspective, being buried in darkness feels like the end. Yet it is within that darkness that the seed undergoes a remarkable transformation. It sheds its old form, draws nourishment from the soil, and eventually emerges as a beautiful plant, reaching for the light. Similarly, our experiences, both positive and negative, contribute to our growth and development. They shape our character, refine our faith, and deepen our empathy. What we perceive as setbacks can become stepping stones, leading us to unexpected blessings and a greater understanding of ourselves and the world around us. The Bible is replete with stories of individuals who faced immense suffering, even when they remained faithful to God. Job, a man known for his righteousness, lost his wealth, his children, and his health. Yet through it all, he refused to curse God, instead wrestling with his pain and ultimately emerging with a deeper understanding of God's sovereignty and love. Psalm 23, a beloved passage of comfort and hope, speaks of walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Even in the darkest of times, the psalmist finds solace in the presence of God, a shepherd who guides, protects and comforts. Suffering, while difficult, is not the end of the story. It is often in these valleys that we discover our own strength, resilience, and unwavering faith. Consider the analogy of refining gold. Gold, in its natural state, contains impurities. To purify it, it must be subjected to intense heat, burning away the dross and leaving behind pure, valuable gold. In the same way, trials and tribulations can refine our character, purifying our motives and drawing us closer to God. The question of why bad things happen to good people often stems from a desire for fairness and justice in the world. We long for a world where goodness is rewarded and evil is punished. However, the reality is that we live in a broken world, one marred by sin and its consequences. This brokenness touches every life, regardless of faith or goodness. Natural disasters strike indiscriminately. Accidents happen. Illness does not discriminate. These events are not necessarily punishments from God, but rather reflections of the fallen world we inhabit. Yet even within this brokenness, God is at work. He uses even the most difficult experiences to draw us closer to Him, to shape us into the people He created us to be, and to ultimately bring about His good purposes. When faith is tested, it's easy to trust God when life is good, when prayers are answered and blessings abound. But what happens when we face trials that shake us to our core? When our faith is tested in the fires of suffering, doubt and anger can creep in, challenging our perception of God's goodness and love. We may be tempted to ask, where is God in this? We may even feel abandoned or betrayed by him. These feelings are natural human responses to pain and loss. It's important to remember that God is big enough to handle our doubts, our anger, and our questions. He doesn't expect us to have all the answers or to face suffering with unwavering smiles. He wants us to be honest with him, to pour out our hearts to him, and to seek his comfort and guidance. He promises to be near to the brokenhearted and to bind up the wounds of the afflicted. The example of Jesus shows us that even Jesus, the Son of God, was not exempt from suffering. He endured betrayal, mockery, physical torture, and ultimately death on a cross. Yet it was through his suffering that he achieved the greatest victory, the redemption of humanity. Jesus' suffering was not in vain. It had a purpose, a meaning that transcended the pain of the moment. His death on the cross paved the way for forgiveness, reconciliation, and eternal life. Through his wounds we are healed. His example teaches us that suffering is not the opposite of God's love. In fact, it can be an avenue for God's love to be displayed in its most profound form. When we suffer, we are invited to participate in the sufferings of Christ, to draw closer to him, and to find comfort in his unwavering love. Joseph from pit to palace. The story of Joseph, as told in the book of Genesis, is another powerful example of how God can use difficult circumstances for good. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned, Joseph experienced betrayal, injustice, and years of hardship. Yet through it all, he remained faithful to God. He used his gifts and abilities to serve others, even in the midst of his own suffering. And in God's perfect timing, Joseph was elevated to a position of power, where he was able to save his family and countless others from famine. Joseph's story reminds us that God sees our suffering, he hears our cries, and he is working behind the scenes even when we cannot see it. Our present circumstances do not determine our future. God can use even the most difficult experiences to shape us, refine us, and ultimately bring about his good purposes. Trusting the potter's hand. The prophet Isaiah uses the analogy of a potter and clay to illustrate God's relationship with us. Just as a potter molds and shapes clay into a vessel for his purposes, so too does God shape and mold us according to his plan. We may not always understand God's ways or comprehend his timing, but we can trust that he is good, that he loves us, and that he is working all things together for our good. Our responsibility is to surrender to his will, to trust in his goodness, and to allow him to mold us into the vessels he desires us to be. This process of transformation can be painful. It may involve trials, hardships, and seasons of deep questioning. But it is through these experiences that we are transformed, shaped, and molded into the image of Christ. Embracing the unexpected. Life rarely goes according to plan. We face unexpected detours, unforeseen challenges, and sudden changes in direction. These moments can be disorienting, leaving us feeling lost and uncertain. But it is often in these moments of redirection that we discover new passions, hidden strengths, and unexpected blessings. What we perceive as setbacks can become opportunities for growth, innovation, and redirection. Just as a river carves its path around obstacles, so too can we navigate life's challenges, adapting, learning, and emerging stronger and wiser on the other side. Hope amidst the ruins. The question of why bad things happen to good people may never have a completely satisfying answer in this lifetime. But we can find comfort, hope, and even joy in knowing that we are not alone in our suffering. God is with us, he understands our pain, and he promises to never leave us nor forsake us. More than that, he offers us hope. Hope that transcends our present circumstances, hope that anchors our souls in the midst of life's storms, and hope that assures us that even in the darkest of nights, joy comes in the morning. This hope is not a passive wish for better days. It is an active trust in God's goodness, an unwavering belief in his promises, and a confident expectation that he is working all things together for our good. It is a hope that sustains us through trials, empowers us to persevere, and enables us to face the future with courage and confidence.